Bases dropped on a new week of soccer down here. John, here, you there. Thanks for hanging out with us. And, yep, we're going to talk about it. That's what Reaction Mondays are all about. So whatever's on your chest, whatever's on your mind, whatever is nagging at your person, we'll talk about it. And it is all lined up this morning. And so, obviously, we've got the bat signal out to folks, and we will discuss. We'll talk about it. And whatever aspect of it is on your mind, get it off your chest. Obviously, there are things that are on my chest that we'll get into. We got the highlights of the first 2 goals and all that kind of stuff. Morning, Alex. And like I said, we'll get into it. We'll get into the discussions. There are certain aspects of the match that I think lead to greater discussions. And if folks can join us, if the real world doesn't interrupt, then we can discuss it. Like I said, bat signals out to folks. Abe Gordon traditionally joins us at 9:15, and bat signals out for him and Garrett Chapman. So we'll see if it's an and/or from our friends at 92.9 The Game. No, just Abby, just waking up. This is the first real talking that I've done. So, and I haven't properly hydrated yet. So, no, not quite congested. It's a long weekend of talking, and this is the first talking that I've done today. I purposely try not to talk when I don't have to. And I know everybody around me sitting there going, hallelujah, he shut up. But no, it's just getting the engine warm. So it's all good. Morning, Derek. Morning, Dale. And so, like I said, whatever's on your mind about this morning, it's all out there. Just so you know. All right. Opening kickoff. Wasting no time. No dilly, no dally zone as always. It is opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code for those of you who are watching either on Twitch and the 200 Indie Character app or on our YouTube channel. And thanks for doing so this early on a Monday morning. So if you're into Kickoff Coffee and kicking off your day with our friends at Kickoff Coffee, there's your QR code. And when you click on that, or you get your phone all lined up and you click on the QR code, then you do that. Don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested into youth games, youth initiatives, stuff that they've earmarked. If you remember our interview with our friend Melissa Ortiz, she's one of the co-founders, and so she let us know about those kinds of things. So right there, Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Once again, SoccerDownHere15 gets you 15% off. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested into youth games, youth initiatives. Very cool things from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Okay, it's a very, very busy week for us here on the network on a couple of different fronts. All right, because it's a high school season, and we finished the regular season up with a ridiculous match at City Park in Gainesville before the weekend kicked in. We got playoffs this week. When we know what our schedule is, we'll let you know. Tonight is the twos, and the twos are on the network at 7:15 on our Mixler channel, soccerdownhere.mixler.com, and it is Philadelphia Union 2 on the SDH network at 7:15 tonight. We've got high school action, either afternoons or evenings or early evening, depending on the travel times. When we know what our schedule is this week, we'll let you know about all that stuff. And then, obviously, getting ready for the appearance of Reverb on Friday night, where we get to catch up with you folks and get to see everybody just before the FC Cincinnati match. So for those of you that missed it, and I know that Abe missed it because Abe is one of the busiest men in show business, we finished our regular season with the Friday night match of the week presented by our friends at Kaiser Permanente. And we went to City Park, Bobby Gruen Field at City Park up in Gainesville. It's the second year in a row that we've had the Johnson Gainesville Knights and the Red Elephants of Gainesville on our air. Had the girls match, and then the boys match happens. So the boys match was ridiculous. It was One was 2-1 at the break. And it was 1-1 at the break. And then you had 6 goals in the second half. I'm not kidding. And if you go to our archive at on our Mixler site, soccerdownhere.mixler.com, you can listen to the whole match. I mean, I would listen to the whole thing because it was just off the rails stupid. And I mean that in the most positive way possible. It was the most incredible thing that I've seen in quite some time. So it goes from 1-1 to 2-1 to 3-2 to 3-3 to 4-3 to 4-4. So it ends regulation 80 minutes at 4-4. So then, traditionally, since it was a non-region game, you don't have to play extra. But because it was a rivalry, they did. So tied at 4, they decided to play an extra 20 minutes. They didn't tell anybody. It's like they didn't do any handshakes after 80 minutes. They just kind of went back to their corners and, toweled off a little bit and had some more talking. So then they decided to play an extra 20 minutes. Played the first 10 minutes, nothing happened. I think everybody's legs were, out from underneath them a little bit. So we get into the second period of extra time. We're tied at 4 with Johnson, Gainesville, and Gainesville. And Edgar Vasquez has an opportunity, draws a late foul, and I mean late foul, like right at the edge of the second 10 minutes. So you're talking probably 99th, 100th minute, north of 100 minutes. And I say that because there was no clock. We had to keep our clocks ourselves because the scoreboard wasn't plugged in, because the stadium is undergoing renovations, and it was the first time all season that they let both sides watch the match at City Park. So you probably had about 5,000 people in Gainesville watching this. Edgar Vasquez settles over the kick, and it was one of the most ridiculous things that we have seen in quite some time. And, if you've been into one of those moments and you sit there and you're like, holy, what? It was completely and totally out of control that you had a moment like that. That's a tease. And so, when you get to have moments like this, it was really cool to have, the 9th goal happen the way that it did. Here was the call. Jason was on lead play-by-play for this one. So here was the call as it aired on the network, 4-4 heading into the 100th minute and then some.
Both Vasquez and Galicia can hit this, but it's got to be Vasquez, right? It's got to be Edgar. Edgar Vasquez steps up to it, over the wall and into the back of the net! Goal! Golazo! Edgar Vasquez! Extra time, stoppage time, he completes the hat trick. That is your Georgia High School Player of the Year. If you disagree, fight me.
So that was Jason. So suffice to say, Jason, he rightfully so. He absolutely lost his mind. So it was a fun one to finish up our regular high school season. And so Jarrett,
Matt, you can run audio through a regulator, right?
Oh no, I did.
Because I came on and my ears just busted open. So
yeah, that was kind of the point. The
you can hard limit
the 9 second hold, the 9 second hold on the goal note. I give him complete and total credit for that.
I don't know if you can still do it in Audacity. I know in the olden days of Cool Edit Pro, I could hard limit audio at like minus 2 decibels. Mother of pearl.
Yes, so that was how we wrapped up the high school season, and we're gonna figure out when we know what our high school playoff schedule is. We'll let you know. So it's 9:15. I filibustered enough. That was opening kickoff. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code for those of you who are watching. however you are doing so, the 280 character app on Twitch or on the YouTube channel. So it's 9:15. So that means one thing. I'm just going to go ahead and bring him in. Oh, see, he drank it too quickly. The beauty of these kinds of things was trying to get Abe while he was drinking on camera. Didn't quite work.
Well, you got to hydrate, man. I got to be ready for you guys. You're going to pound me with questions that make me sweat. I'm just trying to fill back up. That's all.
Yeah. So we wrapped up our high school season on Friday night, and Jason lost his mind, rightfully so, on a 100th minute free kick golazo, last kick of the match in a Classico up in Gainesville. And so we had that to lead into the weekend. And I know that going into the matchup with Atlanta United and Philly, Abe, I know that you weren't all that patently optimistic about the end result. But, I mean, like I said, this is why we call it Reaction Mondays. So anybody can come on with their reactions, overreact, underreact, have an on-par reaction. So now that you've had the post-game show, you put the post-game show to bed, you got to sleep on it. Now you're waking up first thing on Monday morning and you're taking questions from me and a cast of thousands. What sticks in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think I do still feel justified about my pregame thoughts and concerns going into the game. This was a Philly Union side that was very dangerous. Multiple players get involved in their attack, and we've seen Atlanta United really be able to take out a team's lead guy quite a few times this season. I didn't feel like that was going to be a way to attack it with Philly because there is no one individual lead guy. There is no Carlos Heel that you have to focus on, something like that. So I was concerned going in. You're down your 2 first-choice center backs, and then on the other side, what are you getting up top? I mean, you're throwing Daniel Rios and Tyler Wolff up there. Is that what we're expecting to be our goal scorers? And ultimately, it plays out to a point where you feel, when all is said and done, that you almost lost a 2-2 draw. And so, very pleased with the performance. I think it continues to answer questions, specifically Noah Cobb. I mean, I think I'm done not calling him our first choice center back. Whether he is or isn't is a different story. But in terms of quality, in terms of performance, there's simply no drop off for the teenager there. And so very pleased with his performance. We have another situation where a guy up top gets a goal on one of, if not his last touch of the game. And then it's unfortunate down the 73rd minute, a bad turnover, miscommunication kind of gets Philly off and running for a heap of momentum over the next 10 to 15 minutes. But it is a point. Philly stays unbeaten, but in a situation where it's probably going to be a pretty close Eastern Conference down towards the end of this thing. Without a good chunk of your first team, you were able to play even and quite frankly, be the better team, despite what the scoreboard said for the majority of that game. I still think it says pretty good things of Atlanta United moving forward. We got to get Giakoumakis back. There's no doubt about that. And hopefully the center backs as well. But you have to feel pretty good now that you're removed from it. In the immediate wake, it really felt gutting. It felt like after Wiley's screamer that, I mean, God, look at this guy. He just scored a wonder goal. You're up 2 goals at home against one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. Let's ride this thing out. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. So it was a big letdown at the time. I've recovered from that. You kind of pair the end result with your pregame thoughts and expectations, and you kind of settle in the middle. But it was disappointing, obviously to give up 2 goals once you had the lead.
Since we believe in chivalry here on the show, Matty Cruz and the 1s and 2s for Abe Gordon. Go for it.
Okay, I feel like the comment section is actually going to freak out if we don't bring up the throw in,
Sure.
that whole crazy thing. That's been a big debate on Twitter with everything going on, and if it's reviewable, if it's not. We know it's not reviewable. What were your thoughts on the goal? Seeing that as well, and I guess comparing that, back to the referees. I mean, we had this huge discussion at the beginning of the year with the refs coming in to get things going again, and now we got the pro refs back, and something like this happens. What is going through your mind? What goes forward now?
Well, a couple things go through my mind. Initially, my thought is, if it's an illegal throw-in, I don't think the assistant referee is going to catch it. I just think they're dealing with so much and there's so few illegal throw-ins in the world of professional soccer that I just don't think that they're really paying attention to where the feet are. It's probably more at the hands, and if it's one-handed, is their spin correctly, stuff like that. So I'm not really surprised that they didn't call it. I will say this: I've seen the still shots. I think it's a bad idea to try and judge in a sport moving as quickly as soccer, or really any sport does, from an individual still. If there were a series of stills frame by frame, I think you try and figure it out. To me, it looked like the heel was over, but I don't want to like get up on that hill based on an individual still photo of that. So just keep that in mind. I think the question is twofold. Obviously, does this become reviewable in the future? You have to wonder if that gets put up for consideration to be an additional duty of the VAR at some point. I'm not sure I agree with the reasoning that it's not reviewable at the moment. And then the other question is just the head referee. This gets magnified because of other decisions, other refusals to control the game earlier throughout. So, maybe you kind of were going to be able to write this off as something if he had a better game throughout, but he simply didn't. And so now this highlights it from our perspective. And then quite honestly, on the offsides, that would have given Philly the lead. There's some questions there from the Philly perspective. They felt it was not offsides. And so, just not a good game all around by the officiating crew, but like we've heard before, I mean, you can't, one specific moment doesn't decide the game, and you can't leave it a situation where the referees are having that sort of an impact. I mean, look, if Mosquera doesn't slide that ball into no man's land, then it doesn't come into play. And so you only have yourself to blame for that to an extent. But yeah, it would have been nice if VAR could take another look at that and would have been able to address it. And if it was deemed illegal, overturn that. But knowing it wasn't, it's just so tough to judge from a still shot. Kind of grainy. It looked like there was green between his back heel and the white line, but who's to tell? Like I said, I think you're setting yourself up for a mistake if you judge any moving sport by an individual still.
Jarrett Smith for Abe Gordon on a Monday.
To be fair, that's what we do all the time, because I know of a lot of Philadelphia people who were posting stills of the offside at the third goal that was called back. Ironically, it's what we do. It's exhausting. As for this rest of this game, I know you talked about that moment of the bad back pass and kind of losing it. Up until then, I want to get your thoughts on this team's kind of chippiness. We saw it in in the Orlando game earlier this year. It feels like this team has the potential to have a very chippy and combative edge to be able to handle these games more so than they've had in the past.
Yeah, the only thing I would say about that, Jared, is I don't think that they bring it out of themselves. I think it requires an opponent for them to match, for them to meet that level, and they certainly will. They're not going to back down, and quite frankly, I think you look at your two wingbacks, like Caleb Wiley's not backing down. Neither is Brooks Lennon. Those guys are going to get into it. And we've seen that. And then Moyamba is just a madman throwing his body all over the place. So there's that too. I think if another team comes in with respect and plays the game the right way, then Atlanta United will show that as well. But if it starts to get unnecessarily physical, chippy, quite frankly, dirty, then they're going to. And the other aspect of that is it has to be called properly. I mean, certainly there were situations yesterday that rose to the level that they had to, but I mean, Tristan Moyamba getting a yellow card for a slide tackle in which he wins possession. When you don't call that, it kind of, or when you do call that, it kind of ramps things up further. And so the referee was kind of all over the place, which is unfortunate because it felt like he got off to a good start. It felt like Freeman had a good first 10 to 15 minutes, and then it just all fell apart when Philly started their non-sex tactics, and you go from there. You get to a Jose Martinez. It should have been a very clear second yellow leading to a send-off, and that doesn't get called. Once he doesn't call that, it's over in regards to him controlling the rest of the game. That was the moment where he had an opportunity. And I, quite frankly, don't think anyone was going to argue it. I think that's the other aspect of this, is you try and figure out how bad does it have to be. I don't think you were going to see, the Philly radio broadcast was in the booth right next to us, and we were giving them hand signs, and and sometimes thumbs up, thumbs down, a little fight jokes and whatever. I don't think they were going to argue if Martinez gets thrown out there for the delaying tactics. And so once that happened, it was kind of all over. But yeah, they will be physical. They're not going to back down, which I agree is something that maybe this team hadn't had in recent seasons. That's a good eye on that, Jarrett.
Another couple of minutes here with Abe Gordon from 92.9 The Game for his normal Monday visit, where he's the first one. He's the one at the point of the spear on Reaction Mondays. He's the first one in the barn, and it's like, all right, Abe, it's like the Gozer Gozerian scene in the original Ghostbusters. Go get him, Ray. And so that's where we are with Abe as he continues to be hydrated here on Monday. And I think to your point about John Freeman, it was we were doing the numbers and we were crunching his stats coming into the match. Traditionally, John Freeman's fifth in Major League Soccer in fouls called. It was 20, I think it was 24.5 on average. But when it comes to the yellow card distribution, he is in the bottom third of the league. Only, I think it was 3.74 yellows per match. And so in this match, to your point, of his first 6 fouls, John Freeman goes against type and gives 2 yellows out of the blocks. But he did not keep that pacing. And you thought that, okay, he was going to have some kind of control over this match. My thought is that with the number of fouls he called and the number of yellows he administered in the first 45, he was going to have to flip his script to try and even things out in the second half. But as it turned out, it was just one of those where you continue to let things happen. And I know that, and Gonzalo Pineda was like this as well. Gonzalo was not as, if somebody brought up the throw, illegal throw, whatever, I think as you could tell on the sidelines, he was hot about not having the second yellow in the 40th minute on the throwing of the soccer ball from, one half to the other. And the game changes at that point for another 50 minutes if that's called. I mean, you had the all 22 looking at Gonzo, and he's sitting there and he's going, that's his second yellow. That's his second yellow. And you don't get that. And so I think that when Philadelphia sees moments like that, they capitalize on it. They know where the line is now, and they can continue to see where the line is and push it for the remainder of the match.
Yeah, I mean, they came out and tested him early, and they continue to test him. And right, like early on, like you said, he was in control. They had to pull back a little bit as they went for maybe a 10 or 12, 15-minute stretch without too many issues. Then they ramped it back up again and say, all right, he's settled into this game. Let's see if he's gotten lazier. Let's see if he's still on it or not. And like you said, he certainly wasn't, and that was the end of that. I mean, there were some obvious yellow cards. I mean, the hit on Sleesh in the box after he had cleared.
And Martinez goes up and he's wagging his finger at the second he gets up as his way to try and reinforce that no, it wasn't. That's part of the dynamic as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the way they're going to do things, and I guess they got to look at themselves in the mirror every morning and find that level of respect for themselves and the way they play. I think it's despicable. I think it's disgusting. But I also don't like diving. Like, I just wish guys would fight to stay up. And if you go down, you go down. But that's unfortunately where the game has progressed. And look, if you can get away with it, if you can win, or in this case, draw on the road using these sorts of tactics. I mean, you look at Philly and what they've done the past couple of years in the Eastern Conference, maybe there is something there. I don't appreciate it. I find it quite pathetic, to be honest, but they are getting results, and you can't argue with that.
All right. So what is, after you continue to stay properly hydrated, what are you up to at 92.9 The Game?
Yeah, I mean, look, we got the NFL draft in 2 weeks or less than, really. So we're building towards that. There's no doubt about that. But we are definitely keeping an eye. We got Cincinnati coming in on Saturday. We are back on 92.9 The Game. We were on Star 94 yesterday, but back on 92.9 The Game. And it's another opportunity against a pretty quality side to come into Mercedes-Benz and hold home turf. They were very close to doing so yesterday. We'll see if we can get Giakoumakis back, if not in full, for part of this game. And same thing with some of the guys on the back line. But just feel really good about where Atlanta United is. I mean, it's one of those things we probably make too much of a deal of finishing as the 1 seed or the 2 seed and whatever. Like, just, I don't know, like going into the rest of the season, you just feel really good about where the depth has been. I think even though TRA's banged up, like that's been a revelation that maybe you didn't count on. Same thing with Noah Cobb being able to step up into this moment, and you've started to remove questions about what you have there. I just very optimistic, and there, look, on a week-to-week basis, maybe I'll get more so or less so based on how things are feeling, how things are looking. But over the whole, you still have to feel pretty good about the potential of this Atlanta United team.
One of the co-hosts of Pre and Post on the Atlanta United Radio Network, Abe Gordon, at Abe Gordon on the Twitters, at 929 The Game, which is where his hydration mug is based. He's right there. Where's the branding, Abe? Hit me with the branding.
It's coming up. There you go.
There you go. There's your branding. Man, that sounds like there's a lot of water in there. We will catch up with you, my friend. We'll be listening on Saturday. We'll catch up with you again a week from today, and we'll talk about Atlanta United and FC Cincinnati. Thanks for hanging out as always.
Happy to do it, gang. We'll see you guys at the Benz on Saturday.
There it is. That's Abe Gordon. He's going to continue to be hydrated. And so I guess now, before we start to play the highlights, we'll play the first 2 goals for Atlanta United, once again, courtesy of our friends at 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. Maddie, you've written about it. You were in the locker room after the match. What was the vibe in the locker room, other than the obvious? What other stuff did you disclose? And I guess, was there anything that was left on the cutting room floor when it came to the article that you wrote for the postmortem?
Yeah, no, I mean, it sucks. You know, you go up by 2 goals and you pretty much are controlling the whole game. And then after just Gonzalo put it best, just some moments of luck that Philly had. It was a turnover. They made the run, knocked one in the back of the net. Only 2 minutes later, when they had the momentum, shot another one. Also, too, look, as much as I hate to give Philly credit, that second goal from Wagner was absolutely stunning. And I watched it again yesterday after I got home, and I was like, I can't even be mad because it's so good. But, you know, it sucks. And I mean, I feel like that was the mood in the locker room. Everyone was just, upset. And, Wiley got his first goal of the season for the team, his 7th goal as an Atlanta United. And then Rios got his first goal in his first appearance. Kind of takes the wind out of it. You should have won that game and you didn't. And it sucks, but sometimes this stuff happens and you have to move on. So, and then that Wiley put it best. He said, hey, it was lack of concentration. We're going to work on it in practice and we're going to get better, because you have to bounce back. You can't let this performance define you for the rest of the week, or else you're not going to win against Cincinnati. But this is a time where you take almost that lost draw feel and you push it towards Cincinnati and you don't let the same mistakes happen again. That was the biggest thing. I think everyone that we talked to echoed the entire time we were there.
Jarrett, I haven't had the chance to catch up with you on air about what happened in the matchup and let everybody know what's been on your mind. But what has been on your mind with the Atlanta United draw with Philadelphia?
It's a draw that feels like a loss, but also a draw at the same time, because when you take it all apart and you just start laying out the pieces, you're happy to have gone up 2-0 in that situation, because you are missing so many guys and you're missing key guys. You're on your 3rd and 4th center backs at this point. You're on your 3rd string striker trying to go out there and gut it out for as long as he possibly can, because you knew Rios wasn't 90 minutes fit.
Yeah.
You didn't have another striker after that. You're on your 3rd string striker. You're missing your mercurial, for lack of a better word, left winger in Xande Silva, who, when he's on, is an absolute menace.
Mm-hmm.
So you're happy to get those 2 goals when you got them, and they're well worked. It's a great ball from Thiago Almada, who I thought grew into that game, and has kind of pulled the ripcord a bit on his metaphorical lawnmower the last few weeks. Has been ramping himself back up, which you needed him to. I mean, you've been doing very well with him playing a more minor role, I guess, for lack of a better word, where he's not dominating games, but he was able to, I think, be more impactful yesterday. And he would still have those impactful moments in other games. He still is that kind of dude that you will let him do wild stuff, and he'll have multiple turnovers a game, because all it takes is for him to connect on one of the insane ideas one time, and it will break a game open. So you let that guy take risks.
Yeah.
The problem is in that game is that I think you had Philly, if not dead and buried, you had them on the embalming table.
Yeah.
And it's a bad ball from Edwin Mosqueda.
Mm-hmm.
It's you're kind of in a weird spot against the touchline there, where there's a lot of bodies. A pinball might go against you, so he's just trying to clear it back out, get it to the far side, relieve some of the pressure, and it's just a bad ball. You can't hit that ball right there, and it's what he does. It's too far out for Guzan to go get it,
right?
And you end up in a 1v1, and all of a sudden you give Philadelphia life. One of the things that we talked about last week with Philadelphia is that they are so good at not necessarily beating themselves. You had to beat them, and you were on the way to doing that.
Yep.
You had a fantastic goal, a great cross, early ball from Thiago Almada to Rios.
Yep.
Boom, that's one goal. You get a golazo from basically East Point from Caleb Wiley.
From the family pizza joint.
Yeah,
yes.
But then you beat yourself.
Uh-huh.
And you let Philly back in the game, because I think they were about done at that point. If you don't give them that opening, I don't think Philly climbs back into the game. Everything at that point is going through buildup of Kai Wagner, because, and Rich and I had talked about this in the past, like, you're not always getting those huge moments from those guys like you got a couple of years ago from your DP guys. Yes, they will. And what they'll do is they'll pounce on those mistakes like they did in the game. What they did in the game yesterday. But they don't generally create those by themselves as consistently as they used to. But you let them back in the game, then multiple mistakes. Mm-hmm. Because it's a bad clearance in that situation. And the other problem is that ignore the throw-in being, whether it's over the line or not over the line. I think it was worth looking at, but you can't look at it. It's whatever. I think saying that it is absolutely over, and I really misphrased this on the Dead Bird app, and that's my fault.
Yeah.
To suggest that it should have been looked at as opposed to it being completely over the line, because it was not clearly over the line. To say it was clearly over the line or clearly not over the line, the word clearly is doing Eddie Hall level power lifting in those sentences. Part of that's my fault with my phrasing. And I'll absolutely own that. But ignore that. Ignore the throwing. Ignore where his foot is. Don't talk about that. Don't look at that. What you're looking at that moment is the fact that when you head that ball away, it's headed to the wrong spot. Mm-hmm. I've talked about this for years, and late of Huntsville City coach Jack Collison and I talked about this in a Twos game a couple of years ago, that on those long throw-ins, what makes them so difficult is the ball doesn't generate a lot of momentum. The ball is floating much like a bad idea in the ether.
Yeah.
And when that ball comes to you, you as the defender, you have to provide the momentum. You provide the power. Think of it in the context of a softball versus a baseball. If you're playing slow pitch adult league softball like I do, trying not to like pull an adductor muscle.
Right.
With baseball, when it's going super fast, all you got to do is square it up. The ball will provide the energy. Like the energy is going to create the velocity and the exit velocity. Mm-hmm. With a softball, you have to generate so much of it because the ball's just floating. On that throw in, it just kind of hangs up there. You have to generate more of the power. Now, Caleb Wiley is a very strong human being. He heads it out to the edge of the box. Ideally, if we want to criticize that one, and he gets open to it, you ask him, hey, next time, when you hit that ball out, more to the sideline. Don't put it back into the middle of the box where whether or not he's trying to hit a perfect, loop it into the top corner or whether he's trying to cross it, either one I think would have been very acceptable because you had another attacker there. Because I wasn't sure at first if he was trying to finish or if he was just trying to loop a crossover because Philadelphia had another player on that back post. And either idea is a very good idea. But you want to head that ball further away from the middle of the box. And those are the two mistakes that cost you.
Yep.
And yeah, you end up in a track meet in the last 10 minutes and Philadelphia grows into the game. You had them on the embalming table and you let them get off the table.
Yep.
Those are mistakes you have to fix if you're Atlanta. Still a lot of good things to take away from this. It's one of those, again, the world is not black and white. The world is various shades of gray. There is good and bad to take away from that. There are things you want to clean up. There are also things that you can take away from this in a positive. And I think one of the big ones is that your midfield, good job.
Mm-hmm.
Great job building up that midfield this offseason.
Yeah.
Looks very good. Your depth looks as good as it's been in years. You have guys contributing. Hell, Edwin Mosquera almost makes up directly for that mistake when he puts Philadelphia's right back in absolute hell. Plays the ball to Saba, and Saba puts it off the post.
Yeah.
It is a very weird game. There's a lot of will they, won't they, could they not. Missed opportunities for both teams. And yeah, Atlanta also has to finish some of those opportunities, or at least, for God's sakes, put them on frame.
Yeah.
You want Saba to put that away. Saba also has a really weird one before that, when it's still scoreless, where he kind of wraps his left foot around the ball, almost curls it into the corner. It's a very weird play. It's a very weird situation. It's a very weird game. It's always contentious with Philadelphia. Everyone's going to bring their fight. John Freeman lost the plot.
He did.
I think, and John Freeman lost the plot for everyone. It wasn't. Don't feel like you were the only one who's aggrieved. Philadelphia absolutely feels aggrieved by it. Mm-hmm. Whether or not the third goal is onside or offside, I'm not sure. The reason I say that is because your camera isn't down the line. It's so damn hard to tell, and I think that is the reason it holds where it is, because the linesman puts her flag up. Because that camera is not straight down the line, it's just impossible to tell. I think if you had kept the flag down in that moment, that it would have stood. I don't think you could have overturned it either way. Personally, that's my belief on it. But hell, Freeman blows the whistle at the very end when Philadelphia is re-entering an attacking phase. Mm-hmm. I think everyone on that roster got a yellow card at the very end of the game.
Yeah.
John Freeman was not up for that game, and this is something that's tricky, is getting the right referee for the right game. And then, like I said, this isn't just to bitch about Freeman being a bad referee in general, or that he screwed Atlanta, blah blah blah. No, it was like after it kind of felt like after the Martinez decision, where he doesn't send him off, he kind of loses some of the tension in the match, and kind of lets it get to him, where guys are getting chippier and he's starting to throw cards, but kind of throwing them in a weird way. And it's just kind of the game has a lot of stop and start to it, and it's a tough game to manage.
Yeah, but that's what Philadelphia wants, though. They want that start, stop, slow it down.
But why not? It's because of the way they are able to. They're not bothered by the breakup of the game. No. Some people play in rhythm. They don't have to have a rhythm. They just kind of roll with it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to Bart's point, I don't know if Bart will be with us at the top of the hour, but it's the kind of game that you kill off.
Yeah.
This thing is taking Rios early, man. I don't think Rios had anything left. Rios wasn't 90 minutes fit. I think you left him out there as long as humanly possible, and then you pulled him. And I still think if Mosquera doesn't make that back pass, maybe you're 3, 4, 5 minutes away from just pulling the troops, putting Dax out there, putting whoever you need out there, and just shutting up shop. Mm-hmm. You gave Philadelphia that lifeline with a bad ball, and they took advantage of it, because they're that kind of team that doesn't beat themselves. They wait for you to make mistakes.
Right.
I still have a number of questions about Philadelphia as a whole.
Absolutely.
And this is one where, Rich, we can jump in the Discord and hash this out. And this isn't trying to start a war with Rich at all. At what point does Philadelphia just turn to the kids more?
Yeah.
And it's a tough decision to make, because God knows I have been bitched at numerous times in this fan base about playing the kids, about when kids underachieve, when they make mistakes. But Philadelphia did this in 2017 when it was like Austin Trusty and Mark McKenzie back there, and they took their lumps. At what point do you turn to some of these kids and maybe take your lumps in the early part of the season, middle third of the season?
Yeah.
And rest some of these veteran guys, because, man, I don't know how some of them are going to I don't know how some of them are going to hold up all season long. Because, like, yeah, they're a team that's going to wait for you to make a mistake. They're going to force a mistake. But if they can't take advantage of those mistakes, or if you play a clean game, I think it's going to be tough for them to consistently run teams over. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and to Rich's point, and it goes to the deep dive that we had about Philadelphia about a month ago. Problem is, playing the kids end up getting sold. And
yeah, I mean, Atlanta's going to deal with that soon. Caleb's not going to stay here forever. Caleb's going to make a bunch of money in Europe.
That is true.
Yeah, I get it. I wonder about how those guys like Bedoya are going to hold up.
Right.
Because like it's just that's kind of where I'm at with it. I just don't know how they're going to hold up.
Honestly, you look. There were some cutaways, and like I said, we're going to be drifting in and out of the discussion among John Freeman, the refs, the calls, the yellows, Atlanta United, Philadelphia. That's where we are today.
Yeah, I don't want it to, and that's the thing is like, I don't want the conversation to just be about the foot on the line. I don't want the conversation to just be Freeman.
No,
it impacts the game, but I don't want it to just be that.
Yeah, but
I think the conversation should be Atlanta played really well for 70 minutes.
Yes.
Missing a lot of people.
Yeah.
They let Philadelphia back into the game. Philadelphia did what Philadelphia does. And to Rich's other point, some of that's also on, let's be honest, man, Philadelphia doesn't spend as much money as I think a lot of people would like them to.
No.
They develop from the inside, but there are times watching Philadelphia, I'm like, man, imagine if their owner just opened the damn pocketbook up.
Well, I mean, they're focused right now on infrastructure and building out facilities and making that strategic pick. And we've talked about how Jim Curtin has kind of lobbied for, another couple of signings and things like that. But to Rich's point, there was a cutaway early in the match yesterday of Alejandro Bedoya. So yes, Michael, Alejandro Bedoya did play yesterday. There was a cutaway of Alejandro Bedoya. And it was early. I mean, this was like 35 minutes in, and he looked like he had just stepped out of the shower. That's how long that's how much running he had done that early in the match. And Jason had made the point going into the broadcast, for those of you that were listening on 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app, that Alejandro Bedoya wanted no part of Caleb Wiley. And I literally was staring at the broadcast, and I saw that cutaway of Alejandro Bedoya, and I'm like, run at Alejandro Bedoya all day long. Run him into the ground. And that is something that a lot of clubs are going to stare at what's going on with the starting 11 in Philadelphia. And Jim Curtin is not one really to go deep into his bench. And this is going to come back and get to them over and over again as the season goes along, because you're back for one last ride, or, however you want to phrase it. And these are dudes who are mid-30s, early 30s, mid-30s. And over the span of a season, it is going to show that they are early 30s, mid-30s, and have a lot of tread on those tires. And so this is going to be something that Jim Curtin is going to have to figure out / juggle and figure out how to continue to muck it up and go from there. The 2 goals. Let's get into the 2 goals. And once again, courtesy of our friends at 92.9 and the Odyssey app, let's start things off. Obviously, it was goalless at the break, and then Atlanta United gets the first goal on the board. Here was that moment that we were discussing involving Daniel Rios.
Samoyamba put right in the middle to an open Almada, 30 yards away. He dribbles off to the right. He passes to the right now. Here's Brooks Lennon, right corner of the 18. Back to Almada. Pitch to the back post. Header! Score! Daniel Rios! A beautiful team goal by Atlanta United to take the 1-0 lead.
And so Thiago Almada goes up the charts, and I think it's 3 behind Julian Gressel for the all-time assist lead in franchise history. And so we mentioned that team goal that got it to 1-0. And to the point, Jarrett, that you were making about the just a kid from Morningside, this happened, and I don't think Oliver Assembly even saw it.
1-0 Atlanta United in the 63rd minute. Off the free kick. Atlanta playing down the right wing. Here's Mosquera into the right attacking third with Lennon overlapping. He'll go centrally to Almada. Right corner of the 18. Back to Mosquera, top of the arc. Heavy touch. Cleared, but out to Wiley. Shot from distance. Score! Caleb Wiley from just inside of 30 yards gives Atlanta United a 2-0 lead.
And Maddie, to that point, Caleb, once again, you see that opening, you take it and hit an absolute bombazo from 30. Like I said, I think it went through so many bodies. I don't think Semley even saw it. But once again, it's that next part of Caleb's game where if he sees an opening, go ahead and fire away, because you never know what's going to happen. And yesterday you ended up with the second goal on the board.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Honestly,
why
I mean,
not?
if the ball landed in my feet and I saw something, I'd take it too. I mean, it was something I wasn't expecting either. Because watching it back again, it goes to him, he takes a second, and then he sees it, and then he just fires a rocket. And I mean, it took everything I had in me not to jump out of my seat. And
that's not allowed. That's not allowed in the press box, man.
It's not, but I was like, whoa, that it's just.
Well,
I love it.
I
think it's only fitting. So. It's only fitting that he was man of the match too. Wait, what'd you say, Jarrett?
Apparently, it is in New York City. There were numerous complaints during the New York City game last week that there was a lot of cheering in the press box every time NYC got a corner.
Yep.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah, no, it was, and that happened.
Look, we go for pettiness. We thrive on pettiness. It is what it is.
Yes. So Caleb, once again, adding that to his arsenal, and you're seeing someone who is 19 years old fire away at left back, center back U. And so that's we need to print the T-shirt like center back U or something like that with Atlanta United with Noah Cobb continuing. And by the way, let me get Noah's numbers, because there was there were moments in the match where Philadelphia had opportunities inside the 18 and then inside the 6, and then there was one block that Noah had in a scramble in front of the net. And I know that it seems like we keep talking about, Noah Cobb's so young, but I mean, we've seen him since the age of 15 with Atlanta United 2, not be intimidated by anything. 2 clearances, 2 blocks, 1 clearance off the line, 48 touches, 88% on his passing, 5 of 9 on his long balls yesterday, according to our friends at SofaScore. So the confidence in Noah Cobb adding elements to his game, you get that clearance, the clearance off the line, and then 5 of 9, Jarrett, on long balls yesterday, something that he is now looking to do and taking that pass and send everybody forward.
It's something that that's always interesting for me with young players is they find this balance between playing fast and not rushing things.
Yeah.
You want to play quick because you have to play quick. Players talked about, different leagues, you have different amounts of time on the ball before you're closed down, or you have no options and you just have to recycle things. You have to play quick. You have to think and act very, very quickly, but you can't rush things. You can't get it and immediately and just panic and just try and get it off your foot, like it's a spider that just landed on your foot. But you have to strike that balance. I think that Noah Cobb is now striking that balance really well. He plays quickly, but he's still composed. He's not rushing things. He's making good decisions. Will there be mistakes? Absolutely. The best of the best make mistakes. It is what it is. We cannot ask 11 people to play a perfect game. It's not possible.
Yeah.
People make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. But I think he's getting to the point now where it's just more composed. It's more chilled out. And I think you also have to give your flowers to Luis Abram.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because, man, Luis Abram lost his starting spot, y'all. Remember, a long time ago,
Yeah.
When we were still making our tools out of flint and obsidian. Gregerson and Williams were your starting center backs. And we weren't sure if that was going to be the pairing. Well, Williams and Gregerson just took those jobs. It's not like Abraham had been terrible. He really came on in the second half of last season and was starting to find his form and I think find his confidence.
Yeah.
But, man, he just rolled the hell up in there and has been solid for you.
Yesterday,
Yeah, he's done the job in that partnership.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, you were getting dangerously thin. Like you got Ephra on the bench, Efrain Morales, who's part of this academy as well on a homegrown deal, I think.
Right. Yeah.
Who is also going to be pushing for minutes, and I assume we'll see Ephra tonight at the Fraction.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
But damn. Like both of them were damn good, and both of those goals. It's not like you gave up. It's not like you gave up 2 goals where you just really shitty defending at the back.
There's the explicit rating on a Monday.
Whatever. The I don't care.
No.
At this point.
Yep.
But it's not like you're giving up really bad moments where your center backs aren't doing their job. You get a really bad back pass that leads to a 1v1 where there's nothing anyone can do. And then you get a Golasso off of kind of a re-entreat set piece.
Yep.
And kind of happens that way. But, man, Noah Cobb and Luis Brown, solid back there.
Yeah.
Solid, man.
I even said it, too, like, with like, I was so impressed with our whole defense yesterday. Like, with everything, like, it was night and day from, like, everything we've seen from last season and a couple seasons ago to now. Like, I feel like there's so much more of a presence there. I thought Noah is growing absolutely phenomenally into that role. I mean, he was thrown into it, and now he's killing it. And also, too, to have 2 different pairs kind of switched out. You know, he worked with Williams. Williams then got injured, and now he's working with Abram. And there wasn't that much of a shift yesterday. It looked very cohesive. They were communicating, and it was great. And we can talk about Guzan. Guzan was something else. I want to know what the hell he put in his coffee before that match because whoa. Butter. He put butter. Yeah. He followed he followed Javier Armas. He tried it, but holy crap, he was on fire last night.
Yeah. Luis Abram's numbers, Jarrett. 6 clearances yesterday for Luis Abram. 1 block, 1 tackle, 4 of 8 on his duels. And it was 54 touches, 80% on his passing, 4 of 9 on long balls yesterday. So Noah Cobb was 5 of 9. Luis Abram was 4 of 9. And we mentioned Caleb Wiley. Caleb had the 3rd highest score, actually, because Tristan Muyumba had the highest score, according to our friends at SofaScore yesterday. Tiago had an 8. Tristan had an 8.3. Caleb Wiley had a 7.7. So Caleb yesterday, 3 clearances. So Luis Abram had 6 clearances. Caleb had 3 tackles, 1 interception for Caleb, 7 of 9 in his ground duels, 2 of 7 in the air for, obvious reasons when you're going up against Redwoods like they have in Philadelphia. So 9 of 16 on duels yesterday. Fouled twice, 93 touches, 89% passing, 2 of 3 on long balls and 2 of 2 on the dribble yesterday for Caleb. And so the guys at the back and your midfielders, they're putting up numbers in places that you wouldn't necessarily expect them to. And when they do, they're putting up these numbers in bulk when it comes to the overall operation of things over 90 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, the center backs did their jobs yesterday. Made 2 mistakes, and neither one of them were crucial mistakes from them. Hell, you had Philadelphia almost breaks the deadlock early in the second half, I think, early in the second half. And it's a great ball. It's a great bit of it's a great counter from Philadelphia, and they get down the right-hand side, play that ball into the box, and Noah reads the movement really nicely, steps, and then blocks what probably would have been a goal. It's a great job from them. They've the defensive work in terms of blocking has been night and day from early part of last season. I thought late last season they started throwing themselves in the front of the ball more often defensively. They started defending kind of like assholes, to be blunt about it. I mean, throwing their bodies around. They're getting physical, not so physical that it's reckless, but, rubbing his racing in the box a bit.
Yes.
And they're throwing their body in the way to block shots. And one of the differences we saw in the last 2 years, I think with Brad Guzan as well, is Guzan's not hurt, getting run over by people.
Right.
He's not facing as many shots, and the shots he's facing are not super high quality shots a lot of times.
And he's got clear lanes. Yeah, and he's got clear lanes to look at things too. So
you get beat on a 1v1, and you get beat on a shot that if you had somebody with a green screen, like a morph suit, pick up a ball and just kind of carry it into the top corner, it would have gone about like that second goal did. It's an absolutely beautiful finish. But Guzan's done his job. Made a great diving, made a great little paw save before that.
Yeah.
He has absolutely done his job this year, and I will not hear Brad Guzan slander. Now, if you're still want this to be his last year and you're waiting for the fall off, I guess enjoy being pessimistic. I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah.
Because you have a choice in life. You can wait for the shoe to fall, or you can enjoy things until the shoe falls. Now you can make plans ahead of time.
Right.
Cool. You have Josh Cohen in the fold. You kind of have a guy there who can take over. You can go get somebody else. I think you've done a job now that if Brad slipped or if Brad decides he's done, you have a guy who can step in. Great. I'm going to enjoy the good while it's here. Instead of waiting for the shoe to drop and, waiting for the doom and gloom of it, just enjoy the good times. Enjoy the fact the man at 38, 39 years old is having a damn renaissance for himself. And Rich, he's also one of the loudest human beings you've ever heard. Brad Guzan is a sentient foghorn, is what he is.
Hashtag sentient foghorn.
He is an incredibly loud human being. And I think that's one of the reasons that he's still, aside from the fact that he's, again, having a physical renaissance in terms of his goalkeeping, he still organizes that backline really well. He's so damn loud. I will never forget the Atlanta Charleston game behind closed doors, U.S. Open Cup in 2019. There were two voices you could hear in that entire game. You could hear, I don't think Brad was playing that game. I think it was Cam. I think he was in the bleachers, and you could hear the other voice you could hear is Leandro Gonzalez Perez, who still has the most distinct, raspy voice you've ever heard. And LGP was yelling at the ref from the time he walked out of the tunnel until the time the game ended in the 124th minute.
Yeah.
Those two very distinct voices were just screaming, and it was never not funny.
Yep. No, LGP in his whooping is definitely something that you can pick up pretty quick. Jared, are you going into the real world now?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. All right. So Jared's here for hour number one. And I think actually, I hope we didn't get him into trouble because it's traditionally, the Irish goodbye usually is at 5 till and not 3 hours.
Oh, no, it's yes. I would if I want an Irish goodbye, I will.
Yeah.
But no, this is like I said, it's ultimately for me, the whole game is a game of you played really well and then you made mistakes. Things we'll do screenshots, we'll argue things. My favorite irony is being yelled at about the screenshot.
Yeah.
About the foot. Despite the fact that we as a soccer collective, not even continentally, not even hemispherically, globally, we post screenshots of offside shots all the time. Don't tell me one can be posted and the other one can't.
I mean,
don't tell me we're going to freak out about one kind of thing being screenshotted in a moment when it's almost impossible to tell, and another thing being screenshotted in a moment where it's almost impossible to tell me. Tell me one is acceptable and one is not.
Right. We are equal opportunity screenshot artists. So, you have to complain at all.
Yeah, we as a sport, it's what we do.
Oh yeah.
The impact of this game is the fact that Philadelphia should have been playing with 10. They weren't. Atlanta still almost won the game in that spite, and then Atlanta lost themselves for the last 20 minutes of that game, and frankly managed to hang on. If they clean that up, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Maybe also get healthy. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll
So
be at the fraction tonight, so whatever.
yes. Yeah. So fraction tonight. It's a 7:30 kick. Abby, by the way, has 3 tickets in the front row. She can't make it because she's going to Florida. As for those of you who are live in the Twitch pitch have noticed, Abby's at Hartsfield Jackson. She's on her way to Florida. She's got 3 tickets to the Twos match tonight with Philadelphia Union 2. If you are interested, please connect with Abby in the digital mediums and get those 3 tickets. Pregame, I think, for us is 7:15 on the network, and kickoff 7:33, I think, is how it works with MLS Next Pro. So Philadelphia Union 2, Atlanta United 2, and we'll see what Steve Cook's roster looks like for tonight. Are there any first-teamers that will get some minutes, and what is that going to look like?
Maybe Derek.
Yeah, so I'm thinking
Maybe Derek.
Yeah, so I would say probably Derek Etienne get you some minutes. It's probably some combination. I mean, obviously, Firmino got a cup of coffee yesterday. Luke Brennan was on the game day 18. So I don't anticipate a whole lot of difference except for not having Noah and working at the back end. Remember, no Daniel Russo. Daniel Russo is out for the year with the knee injury. So you're probably going to have a handful of academy kids that will be there tonight. You're going to have some of the stalwarts from the Twos and probably Derek Etienne, who's needing some minutes to continue to knock the rust off. So that's what it's going to look like. 7:15 pregame start on the network and 7:33 kick. I think it's on MLSNextPro.com, and I think James Haddon is going to be on the call tonight on the TV side. But Jason, Maddie, Jarrett cast the thousands up at the fraction tonight for Atlanta United 2 and Philadelphia Union 2 as the Twos get back at it for the first time in 3 blanking weeks.
Also, shout out to the Jacksonville Jaguars for bringing back the full-body Jaguar logo from the Mark Brunell, Jimmy Smith days.
Yes, we like that. So,
also Fred Taylor Sr.
Yes, Fred Taylor Sr. Yes, who is actually, remember, he's a part owner in our Friends with Sporting Club Jacks. So he's a part owner of Sporting Club Jacks when they come online. We're into hour number 2, and once again, it's whatever you guys want to talk about. There goes Jarrett with the Irish goodbye. I knew it was coming sooner or later. Maddie Cruz on the 1s and 2s. She was there. She was in the locker room and read her recap on soccerdownhere.net. And then you get yourself geared up for the Twos tonight. And all week long, in some aspect, we're going to have high school because it's the first round of the high school playoffs. And we'll see how many days this week we actually will have matches because we are kind of spread to the 4 wins. But we'll see what the schedule looks like. And when we know what we can orchestrate for you on the high school side, then it'll be on the network on the Mixler side at soccerdownhere.mixler.com. And once again, you can go to Mixler, download the app, set your notifications, and follow Soccer Down Here's network page on Mixler. And so when we have a live event, when we've got a game that we're broadcasting, you find out about it. You get the little alert. Maybe your phone makes a funny noise or you've got a set with a funky ringtone. And you end up with notifications. But, yeah, high school. So you've got Atlanta United 2 tonight. You've got high school the rest of the week. We'll figure out how many days, how many matches. Remember, it's ones in the opening round. It's 1 match a day. It is you're not going to have back-to-backers with boys and girls teams. You will have that starting in the next round because of teams consolidating and things like that. But the sheer number of officials that are needed for these matches, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they alternate girl, boy, girl, boy. Or is it boy, girl, boy, girl? I forget. But either way, you end up with girl, boy, girl, boy. Okay, so that's what it is. And remember, Friday night at Reverb, Reverb by Hard Rock, we're going to be balancing the high school schedule and the live appearance. So it'll be, I think Maddie and Jason are going to be at Reverb with everybody that wants to be there and hang out before the FC Cincinnati match on Saturday night. And I will be calling the game of the week in the location that we determine. I've got a couple of games earmarked, and I know we've got to discuss what's going on and figure out when we're going to start our schedule. So busy times here at SDH, but we wouldn't have it any other way. So it's playoffs in the high school game. We got the Twos. And obviously the Daily Show from 9:05 to 11:05. All right. So now that you guys have taken hour number 1 and you have laid out everything here in your minds for hour Number two, oh, Rich wants to know about the low attendance yesterday. Masters Sunday. That was the biggest thing. Masters Sunday, and I had figured that it was going to be, something like a late arriving crowd or something like that. And then by the time you got home, you still had the final grouping at 14. I should know because I had the TV, I had the tournament on both televisions here for the Rowdy Man. And so, yeah, you get home at 6:00 after this match, you still had Scotty Scheffler on 14. So you were all laid out. It was fine. So they went by attendance is always tickets purchased in Major League Soccer. That's how they navigate that number. But yeah, it looked like it was about 30,000. But yeah, Masters Sunday, Rich, that was the big thing. You had a lot of folks who were at home. You had a lot of folks having parties. I still have Masters egg salad that I've got to have for lunch. It exists. And so, it's folks at home watching the Masters, folks at home in Augusta, folks in Augusta at the Masters, that kind of a thing. So it was Masters Sunday. And so that was part and parcel to what was going on.
I will say I was really impressed with the crowd, though.
Yeah.
They were rowdy. They were getting crazy over there.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, you end up with you end up with the craziness that was there. And I mean, it is a rivalry match. And, with the way that the two teams want to go about it and it being heated for a bunch of different reasons. And you end up with everything happening the way that it did. And I'm talking over the span of 90 minutes, all of the ebbs and flows and all the events and things like that. No, it's not Orlando, Charlotte, Nashville. It is not that level, but it is, it's like a B plus. It's like a B plus rivalry, I guess, if you want to call it that, because you've got all of the subplot and the subtext and the differences in styles and all of the events that seem to happen, when it comes to these two teams when they play. So I guess this would be like that second level of rivalry for Atlanta United outside of Charlotte and Nashville and Orlando. So I think that maybe early Red Bulls would have been in that second level too. But yeah, so there's a lot to digest about this one. And I know that when Bart is able to escape the real world, because like I said, the way that things are now with his real world, his traditional 10 a.m. slot is now like he is on call for the real world. And so he can't drop in on 10 o'clock, but when he can, then that's when we try to plug him in, and he might end up being our Friday at 10 to lead into Weekend Whip Around. But what I want to do with Bart the next time he's on the air is, from the referee perspective, I want to discuss a couple of things. I want to discuss the rules of the game. And there were folks that, and Abby was one of them before she hopped on a plane. She released the screenshot of what is and what is not a legal throw in the minds right now of IFAB and the U.S. Soccer Federation. That was posted. It's a full screen. It was posted. I want to walk through that. And I think also, if we can, because of what happened involving the throw, and I will, and like I said, and Rich, I will also stipulate to the offside being, once again, either just on, just off, or close, because that slash camera that's there doesn't give you the definitive look you're looking for, because the action is in front of the camera, and the camera is looking over the right shoulders of all the individuals on that line. Some buildings have the bells and whistles that you can line up appropriately. Some can't. The ARC is one thing. Your high camera slash sees something else. I know. Well, and if we're going to get into the throw in, we've ZipRooted it. And like I said, and the image that I took kind of tongue in cheek was off of Mike. What Mike Conti had done is he had taken his Chromebook and he kind of zoomed it in and did whatever. So, and this is where I give credit. This is off of Mike's Chromebook that he released to his 280 character app account. And so, all right, so let me pull Rich's font once again. I've kind of flashed this in as kind of somewhat tongue in cheek. There's a clearer image. Oh yeah, well there's reason to be salty across the board, Rich. Trust me. With this particular image that I've pulled from Mike's 280 character app and through his Chromebook, it's blurry. There are better images out there, and OB, there's a better image that I thought that I had sent to my own email. And if you sit there and once again, our friends at the Orange and Black Soccer Cast out west Coast is the best coast. They're saying over the line. There are clearer images than this one off of Mike's Chromebook. But
I agree. I agree with Orange Black Soccer Cast. I do, because if Mike Conti also said this, IFAB Law 15.1 says at the moment of delivering the ball, the thrower must have part of each foot on the touchline or on the ground outside the touchline. If I look at that, you cannot tell me that he is over into the other half of the pitch. I'm sorry. He's not on the line.
Well, but the larger issue here is this. So we look at that blurry Mike Conti Chromebook image. There, like I said, there are other images out there. I think Jarrett's, might be a little cleaner. To me, like I said, I thought there was a gap. But the larger issue here, and this is what I want to bring up with Bart next time he's on. The idea that the rules need to be adjusted, or it needs to be put into these kinds of situations where you need to look and consider a throw-in part of the phase of play. Because since right now it is not, for some reason, regarded as an act that is part of the phase of play. Last time I checked, a throw-in is something that has to do with play. It's like you're throwing the ball in. Okay, play's engaged. If VAR cannot review this particular situation, this is something that IFAB needs to address, because if it's and like I said, this is seeing an incident that just happens to be attached to a game that we're covering / watching / viewing / fans of. If in this situation, and I know that a lot of folks have also zaprudered Catherine Nesbitt and her looking over to her left and seeing what's going on with the activity to her left. But once again, you're looking at, if you're an AR, you're looking over there. Okay, where are the hands? What's going on? Is it the proper throw? Those kinds of things. I think Catherine Nesbitt is really looking at the idea of the throw and not looking at the feet. She's looking high, not looking low. But I think the idea is, if there is a question and you have something happen off a throw, right now the only part that can be reviewed has to do with a penalty. It should. And Michael, this is the point that I'm making. Michael Head, shouldn't a throw-in that leads to a goal be reviewable? Yes, I would think, because of it being regarded as phase of play. Part of the action in the game of soccer is a throw, which leads to either an offensive or a defensive act. I don't care what it is. You throw the ball in, defense clears it, game's still going. Throw it in, team scores off of the throw-in, you've created an offensive act. But apparently right now, according to the rules of it is part of the buildup of the goal, where, Alex will get into the Ivan Toney comparison in just a bit. But what we have stumbled into here, and like I said, I want to have Bart walk us through the whole thing about IFAB and throw-ins and all this kind of stuff next time he's on, because I want all of us to be on the same page when it comes to what we know when it comes to rules of the game. That's number one with Bart next time he's on. But right now, apparently the only element in phase of play that is reviewable has to do with a PK. That's the only part that's reviewable. And since I know that Maddie she has osmosed the IFAB rules of the game, the only element that's reviewable has to do with encroachment on a penalty kick. That's the only element. But you would think, like I said, we have stumbled into this that I think needs to be addressed with IFAB. Yes, it just so happens to impact the team that, our number one team that's going on. So the idea here is that this particular act, a throw-in, should also be added to this particular rule of engagement when it comes to video review. For some reason, it is not a reviewable act. But I think it takes a moment like this to sit there and go, okay, this needs to be tapped in to what we're talking about here. This needs to be added to the discussion instead of just it being encroachment on a penalty kick. It just so happens that it's a throw that impacts something that we saw, and I think it takes moments like this to have this kind of review and this added to the review process, Maddie, further down the line.
I mean, I agree. And I feel like too, like, yes, obviously Atlanta United is the team, that most of us here support, but I think this goes on beyond just this. Like, the IFAB rules, like they're universal. They're done by US Soccer as well. This is the rule book for a lot of the games that we consume here in the US. What happens if something like this happens during a US women's or national team game, and the same thing happens and that doesn't get reviewed? We're all going to be mad because then the other team gets a goal and they shouldn't have had that. I'm saying I think my frustration is not the fact that it led to a goal. I'm just upset that it's something that can't be reviewed.
Yeah.
Even though, like, especially with these long throw-ins, we're seeing them more frequently now.
Yeah.
Like, you have players who are, like, actually specified. If there is a throw-in near the box, you're running to the far end of the fence and you're throwing it as far as you can. It's becoming a new, it's becoming a new thing to help and to give teams an edge, which I like. I think it's great. Do everything you can. But I think there needs to be some rules that need to be adjusted and figured out with that, because that can lead to something like this. And I think that's where you need to just reevaluate the rules. And I think that's what it is, because if it was any other team, I mean, I'd be upset too. Because I think that's where my issue stems, is that if this were to happen, because these are the guidelines that we all follow for every team, if this happens to another team that all of us support, if this happens during the Olympics, if it happens during CONCACAF, anything like that, we're all going to be upset and we're going to wonder why they can't review it.
Think about a World Cup moment. If you had something happen in an international competition where the entire world is watching, and you have something like what happened yesterday, where it's not reviewable. Like I said, encroachment on a penalty kick, according to IFAB, is the only element that is reviewable. I would maintain, like I said, that this is phase of play. Well, yeah, and Michael's like, then just footfall out all the throw-ins. And I know, like I said, when we had a high school game, and it might just be because of the environment, but literally, we had a high school game this season where we had 4 consecutive foul throws. And so I think it was a situation with 2 refs. I can't remember if it was an AR. I think it was a 2-ref situation. It wasn't an AR on the near side, but we literally had 4 consecutive foul throws. And so this is, like I said, I think that we have stumbled into an incident that we need to have addressed by IFAB to add to a rule. It's not to substitute anything involving a rule, but I think that we would all be, regardless of what team we follow in this argument, I would think that for the benefit of the game itself, the larger picture, that you need to consider, when it comes to review, you need to consider throw-ins as a part of phase of play. Why it's not, I don't know. But as I said, you are throwing the ball in. It is an act that is working its way into the dynamic of the 90 minutes that you're playing. unless it ends up being, 80 in high school or college or what have you, or you're playing extras. We've stumbled into something here that just needs to be addressed next time by IFAB, that throw-ins need to be considered phase of play on scoring opportunities. So it's just, that's one of the larger issues here. So when Bart comes in, that's topic number one. Topic number two for Bart has to do with control as a center ref. And like I said, we are giving Bart all of his notes for his next appearance with what has been going on this morning. So the larger issue, John Freeman, I think the crew had a bad night. I think the crew had a bad afternoon, a bad evening. Where John Freeman was concerned, I think that in this environment, you needed someone like an Ismail Elfath. You need someone who isn't going to take any ish from anybody. And I don't care who you are. I think that you need someone like maybe a Nima Sagafi, like an Ismail Elfath in a situation like this, in a marquee game like this, or a game that has the temperature that this one does. I think that John Freeman, and this is once again, and this is credit to Philadelphia for what they do. What Philadelphia does is they wear down the officiating crew. They wear down officiating crews, and this is a universal thing. I think that pro / PSRA / Major League Soccer, I think they need to gain a better temperature in the room when it comes to matches on a week-to-week basis. I think that if for an El Tráfico or a Cali Classico or Hudson River or Atlanta and the Purple Team or Atlanta, Philadelphia, Rich, who did you and I'm breaking the fourth wall here. Rich, who would you consider to be your largest rival as a part of this discussion?
Ooh, that's a good. Yeah, I've
So-
actually never
so-
thought of that.
So I think that yeah, as Rich is looking at the home studio space. Okay, so for Philly and NYC, I think you need to have a better gauge of reading the room. And I think that in this particular situation, you did not have the best reading of the room in the assignment that was there. And so when you have the situation go sideways, I mean, we had a moment a couple of matchups ago where Kasper Shabilko lost the plot completely, and he threw an absolute nutty on the field at MBS, and you have moments like that in this rivalry. I think that you need to have, and this is rivalries across the board in Major League Soccer. Once again, talking about it from the local context that we have here, I think that PSRA, Pro, Major League Soccer, they need to read the room better. And you can't just sit there and go, okay, we're going to have, Joe Dickerson doing Atlanta and Philadelphia. That would be bad. So they need to get together in these assignments and understand the context of what they're doing instead of just sitting there. And I don't know what the idea of, when they gauge, I don't know if it is a travel thing. I don't know if it is, mileage. When it comes to trying to figure out, okay, so what we need to do is have, this particular matchup with these guys because they're the closest. We need to sit there and go, here's the deal. And that's true. And Hutch dropping, and I took, and I took 2 years of Latin. So, Hutch is dropping illegitimate non carborundum refs. And basically that is Latin as don't let the bastards grind you down. That's kind of like the mock translation of the whole thing. So don't let the bastards grind you down, ref. And I think that that's what Yeah, and Michael, to your point, and Rich, Atlanta's definitely a get-up-for game, though. Yeah, and so, like I said, even though from a Philly perspective, I know that you're focused on NYC as your number one. Like I said, Atlanta and Philadelphia is a B+ when it comes to rivalries and paying attention and being locked in and those kinds of things. So, like I said, you've got the regional rivalries here. That would be your A level. This is a B+ when it comes to Atlanta. And you definitely have, for these get-up games and for these burgeoning rivalries, you've got to read the room. If you are pro PSRA and Major League Soccer, you've got to read the room. You have to have individuals who, like Michael Head, once again, he said he commented yesterday at the match, pro puts up with too much ish from the players, throw a few yellows and calm down the situation. And going back to what we discussed with Martinez, first off, the Sleesh tackle, and it comes up and he's wagging his finger. Then Martinez gets the yellow and then chucking the ball. I think at that moment when John Freeman let Jose Martinez chuck the ball and he didn't punish him for it in a card sense, then I think that Philadelphia knew, and like I said, this is me and my amateur psychology here. I think that at that moment, if you are on the touch line and you are part of that coaching staff or you're an analyst, you know that this is what's going on here. We're going to duck out and do Prem and Proper, the review. We're going to let Drew come in here real quick because Drew had a very busy weekend. And he actually, well, you know what? I'm going to let Drew post it to social media, and I'm going to let him tell you. But he had some fun. We'll let him talk about it here in just a little bit. We'll do 15 minutes on the Premier League, then we'll wrap up our conversation for today about what's going on with Major League Soccer. So, and refs and all this kind of stuff. So let's bring Drew in here at 10:30. And have you recovered from your bump, sir, from the weekend?
I still got some pain behind my left ear, and my ribs are. I'm getting there. It'll probably be a couple more days, but I had to dress for comfort today.
I bet. So for those that are not familiar with that particular situation, sir, how did this come to pass where you took a bump? What for those that need to come and see you in all of your announcing glory, where you end up taking bumps from female wrestlers and grapplers, please explain the situation which caused this dressing for comfort today, sir.
Well, I am the play-by-play man for Deep South Wrestling. About once a month, we have a show that is free for everyone at Das Barbecue in Atlanta off Memorial Drive. And yesterday, two of our female superstars, they're in a little spat right now. Gemma Jules and Nair Robles, all the way from San Juan, Puerto Rico. She had some business to take care of with Gemma, and Gemma didn't appreciate what she had to say. And silly old me tried to break up the scuffle in the middle of the ring, and they just tossed me to the side like a little gnat. And I don't know what came over me. I tried to break it up again. And this time I got kicked and shoved out to the outside of the ring. And that's where the pain in the back of my neck, it was like both sides. So
see, if you had taken the bump, I fully expected the cervical collar this morning.
Oh yeah. When next time I'm on camera, it'll be, it's called selling.
Yes.
I didn't think about it because we got a really big audience here today. I should have sold it a little bit more. That's on me, John. You're calling me out. But no, free plug here. May 18th, Das Barbecue, free show. Come check us out.
See, there you go. So you get to see Drew take bumps, and legitimately the next time he's on camera, he better have a surgical collar and or a cervical collar and explaining what's going on and truly, totally. Well, but the thing is, Rich Ransom goes, heel announcers wear the neck brace. But, the thing is,
I'm not sure if he knows it, but that heel announcer he's talking about, the heel who wore the neck brace, Nick Patrick, he's actually my boss. And I dressed up as him for Halloween this past year, and I actually wore the neck brace. So I still have it. So I'll be good.
Okay. So, but you never know. We never know when Drew's going to turn when it comes to the announcing crew and all this kind of stuff. So
correct. Although I am the straight man baby face. So no turn anytime soon. Let's put it that way.
All right, so let's get into prim and proper here for 10 minutes. Manchester United 2, Bournemouth 2, and it took Bruno Fernandes to save it for you, to save yourselves. So your beloved United had a long day, and now there's once again the fires are raging about the future of Erik ten Hag and Manchester United.
There's still two big factors and two big points that I try to get across on the 3D a lot. And those two things are shots contested, which again conceded 20 shots yesterday or Saturday, 20 again, and all that space in the midfield, the space between the Casemiro in the back four, Manu, Bruno, and the front three. And again, I said it on the 3D. Like, I even watched the Bournemouth game from December before I even recorded the 3D, right? Just to make sure that I was remembering everything correctly, because yeah, I am. But John, Matty, there's 30 yards of space in the midfield. Bournemouth once again strolled right through with no. I mean, it was almost like Casemiro didn't even want to play. There's something wrong. Either he aged 10 years over the summer, or he's not used to losing and he's just throwing his hands up. I don't know. But the fact that $60 million Mason Mount comes off the bench with 15 minutes to go again is, that's all right. I don't want to get into it. That's on Ten Hag. It's like I've never seen a manager stab himself in the foot more times than this guy has. And what doesn't help is, I've said this a lot, there's two horrible fan bases in the world. That's wrestling fans and Manchester United fans. The toxicity on social media has really gotten to a boiling point now, to where you're not even able to make your own decisions, because all these pundits and all these influencers are making it for everybody. It's a horrible time right now to be a Manchester United fan, and it shouldn't be. New ownership, new front office coming in, but for whatever it is, those rich kids on the field can't seem to get over themselves, A, and B, the coach just has some sort of stubbornness about him that he will not change his ways. It is okay. We talk about the injuries, right? We talk about the injuries. Okay.
Oh, I meant this to be a palate cleanser today, but okay.
We talk about the injuries, and I'm about sick of it. I really am, because now Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Diogo Dalot, I mean, I'm not sure how much more they can do. Dalot's played every single game this season, and it's the same with Garnacho playing. He's played 30 straight games, and he hasn't had a rest. The kid has a bad first half, and the coach. I never knew Ten Hag was going to be like that. Kind of. I don't want to say throw him under the bus, but Eric, you knew he was sick all week. He didn't train all week, and you still started him. What did you expect to get out of him? And I had no idea until the game started that Anthony didn't train much last week. So he doesn't have much at his disposal, and every time he digs himself into a deeper hole, you got kids like Garnacho going to social media and making matters worse. And those social media influencers, like Mark Goldbridge with the United Stand, all that, they feed off of that stuff, John. Matty, they're obsessed with it. That's how they make their money.
'Tis true. Matty Cruz on the ones and twos for our favorite wrestling play-by-play announcer. Go for it.
Ooh, I mean, I think my one question is, what were your thoughts on Aaron ten Hag just walking out of the press conference at the end of it all?
Oh, that's funny. There were excuses made after that. That the interview session had already been ended, and that's funny, because if it was ended, he wouldn't have taken the question. But it was very Jurgen Klopp-esque, kind of being a baby. Answer the question, or do what a lot of other managers do: beat around the stinking bush. But doing stuff like that is what those influencers and the toxic part of the fan base, which is pretty much bigger. If this is the whole fan base, the toxicity of the size of the fan base is that big. So with Eric, I keep saying it, he keeps digging himself into a deeper and deeper hole. And something's going to give. I just don't think that Ineos are going to deal. Okay, for instance, Bruno Fernandes is 29 years old. How much time does Bruno have left? Is he going to want to stay at United with things in the current situation? Because I've never seen him play. I mean, I've seen him play better plenty of times, but how hard he played and how dedicated he was on Saturday to trying to win the game. Like John said, he was the savior. And if not for Bruno, I'm not too sure, my hands would just been tossed up in the air like they are arguably. I mean, do you guys remember how fantastic they played against Liverpool?
Back in the mid-90s, yeah.
Listen to you. I just don't see how hard it is for the guys to, if you're only getting up for big games, what's the point of playing in the other games?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got Coventry this weekend, and John, Maddie, I have no idea what Manchester United team is going to show up. Because if it's a team that shows up against Bournemouth, they may get run off the field by a championship team in Coventry.
I mean,
hey, listen, playing away, playing it, when United's not playing at home, they're a different story. But I agree with you. I think Wembley may be too big of a deal for a team like Coventry. But again, United are known for stepping on their own foot. So you really never know.
Juice box is right now. You're to -217 to win in regulation. 90-minute draw in regulation is basically a +400. And Coventry, to pull the shock of shocks, is north of a +480. The palate cleanser continues for another couple of minutes here with Drew at Dickinson at JR18 on the Twitters and on the 280 character app. All right, so then let me ask you about this.
Yep.
According to our friends at the Telegraph, the relationship between Erik ten Hag and Alejandro Garnacho, where apparently Garnacho, Mark Goldbridge apparently hosts a United fan channel on YouTube. He mentions Garnacho. Mm-hmm. Second post on the 280 character app, Goldbridge says, Ten Hag subtly blaming Garnacho in the post-match press conference. Not a good look throwing a 19-year-old under the bus who's actually delivered for you this season. But then again, he's clearly scared of upsetting the bigger earners, end quote. And then, underneath a particular 280 character exposition, you have a couple of options. You can like it. You can repost it. You can reply, or you can share. So there's like 4 different things that you can do. It was liked over 17,000 times after it was posted to the media that is social. And one of those likes came from Garnacho. He did subsequently unlike the post, but folks noticed that he liked what Goldbridge said on the 280 character app about Erik ten Hag. I don't think this relationship is going well, sir.
All right. So there's a few pieces of that pie that I want to break down real quick.
Sure.
And it goes back to my point about the toxicity. And Mark Goldbridge is the captain of the toxicity team when it comes to the fan base of Manchester United. First off, the guy doesn't even go into Old Trafford. He sits at his desk and looks at what we're doing, mm-hmm. because he has a million idiots watch the game. Anyways, but if this is how stupid he is, and this is how much it infuriates me. Do you know what he said at halftime of the game yesterday, Mark?
What he said?
In a nutshell, he blamed both the goals on Garnacho. But after the game, he goes to his fan channel and gets mad at Ten Hag for throwing him under the bus. And I'm just like, is that not the pot calling the kettle black? Easy for me to say.
Well, you're working both sides of the street, is what you're doing. You're driving in both lanes, is what you're doing.
And again, he's a genius, because you don't have 1 million followers on a fan channel if you're not doing something good, if that makes any sort of sense. But to me, I don't read into it, because ESPN reported this morning that it's already been dealt with. And if I know Ten Hag, I mean, look at Sancho. Don't cross the boss. Mm-hmm. And Garnacho is a different story. Garnacho is a 19-year-old kid who was frustrated about being taken off at halftime. Look, my dad was my coach for the majority of my life. We had a very silent ride home if I got subbed off the field. So I couldn't imagine how it would be if I got subbed off in a game to where, and Goldbridge is right, though. On one hand, Garnacho has delivered, through and through throughout the entire season. But he did make 2 crucial mistakes in the first half that led to goals. All right. Now, do I agree sometimes with Ten Hag's choices? No, I've been very vocal about that here. But if he thinks that the kid needed to go off, who, mind you, was sick all week, clearly didn't have what it took to be in the moment at that time. Now, I thought the dumbest part of the game was taking off Kobe Mainu and not taking off Casemiro. So I'm hoping Casemiro figures out a way to get off the bench this weekend, because if Mason Mount doesn't start, Ten Hag again it's going to feel like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer favorites. Yeah. When you're supposed to be awarding people for playing well, instead you're awarding people for playing like we almost had to use the button, playing like crap, if you will.
We've already earned the explicit rating this morning from Jared early in hour number 2, so it wouldn't matter.
Oh, good.
Oh, good. All right. So, what are your plans this week other than healing from your bump from Deep South Wrestling?
I got a couple of massages scheduled this week. Just gotta rub out the. No, I'm just kidding. I'll be honest with you. I've been going balls to the wall for about 2 weeks now. I'm going to have a rest and relaxation sort of weekend, and I'm hoping for. I mean, like you said, the odds of United, losing this game this weekend are pretty slim to none. But again, you never know what you're going to get. I'm expecting a rematch of last year.
Okay.
And before I go, can we not all laugh at Liverpool and Arsenal?
Oh boy. Wow.
I mean, I told you, John, if it wasn't going to happen before Christmas, it was going to happen after Christmas.
And
City just won their 4th in a row.
Wow. And so Drew's calling it right now with the results that happened on the weekend with Crystal Palace and Aston Villa in the Unai Emery derby. 2 points clear with 6 to go. City's got the easier run in, but they also have to deal with hemispheric competitions and stuff on the continent and all those kinds of things. Please heal up, sir. Grab your massages and make sure that you are at 120% next time that you are going to be announcing over at Deep South, and folks going to have their barbecue, and they're going to have their Drew and their Q all at the same time.
Hey, there you go. I my ice pack melted, so it's in the freezer. I'm going to go get it once we get off here. So, but yeah, next month, Deep South Wrestling, May 18th at Das Barbecue, and I believe May 3rd we are going to be performing at the Gwinnett Stripers game.
Ooh.
One of our superstars, Matt Sells, will be throwing up the first pitch, so it's kind of cool.
Okay, at Dickinson Jr. 18 on the Twitters, the host
and the 3D this Friday.
The host of the Drew Dickinson diatribe when it comes to everything that is in his mind that he vents his spleen on each and every single week. It is only one way to do it and one man to do it, and it is this one.
Spike Dudley to the right.
So there you go. And so the 3D comes out on Fridays, and whenever Drew wants to cut a 3D, we're never going to turn him down. All right, I know your break's over. Go back to the real world or something. Thanks for the palate cleanser.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for the platform. John Madison, have a good week, all right?
All right, be good. So that's Drew. Drew's going to go back and try and continue corrupting the youth of America, as he always does, Monday through Friday. And then, so when Drew came in, the larger thing that, read the room. Read the room. The governing bodies of this and every other planet, read the room when it came to all of this stuff. At the end of the day, yes, I think we can all stipulate that the crew had a bad day. Center F specifically had a bad day. The other thing I want to talk to Bart about when he comes back in is about control. Controlling the environment around you, not losing the environment around you, and becoming second fiddle to the environment. And like I said, I think that we've given VAR a lot to think about. I mean, we've given IFAB a lot to think about with what happened. I think that hopefully out in the ether, we have given PSRA Pro and MLS something to look at, just in general. And from the Atlanta United perspective, you had, as Mike said, and Mike and I give Mike full credit on the 280 character app for what he said. There's the good and the bad from this. The glass half full, glass half empty. You can look at it one of two ways. Glass half full, Mike says that they got a result against the only unbeaten team in Major League Soccer playing without 4 first-choice starters. Because remember, no Gigi, no Gregerson, no Williams, no Jamal, no Shande Silva. You had 5 dudes out. Glass half empty, blew a 2-goal lead at home. And it was moments. And I know that Tom has been in the timeline this morning, and Michael's been in discussing the issues being systemic. I would challenge that assessment when it comes to, it's a bad pass. It's a bad choice of judgment from Mosqueda. He was trying to dispose the ball. He puts it into open space. That was a bad choice. That to me is not systemic. It is individual. And I know that that we have the discussion about, okay, well, when so many different individuals have mistakes or whatever you want to do, however you want to phrase it, then when does it go from individual to systemic? I would always maintain that it is an individual decision and that you learn from it. And that's the biggest thing here. I'm taking the second goal, and once again, I'm putting the second goal to the side for various reasons. But the Mosqueda specifically, the Mosqueda turnover, you want him someone to you want him to make a better decision next time. So that's what I'm looking at here. I look at it as an individual decision. You want him to learn from it. You learn from it in a rivalry game. In the future, kick it off of the opponent and send it out over the touchline, instead of pushing it back into a position where it turns into Michael Ua putting it in the back of the net. You have young players who are in these situations. Just learn from it. And I would rather you learn from it now, early in the year, than having this mistake happen later in the year and it costing you more than just 2 points. So, and Tom, like I said, I know that Tom and Michael and I will go all over this on this topic, and the fact that Michael is a 5-iron from Office HD. I know that we always interact and we always catch up with each other anyway. So, Hutch says if not for an offside call, we lose the game. It was one long stretch of bad moments. But like I said, I look at the offside call. I know some folks will sit there and look at it, but like I said, you don't have it right there on the line. And I think that having the semi-automated technology, does MLS go there to help out? I still think you ought to have goal line technology too. So, that's where we are. There's a lot of the game that needs fixing from an adjudication standpoint. In this particular instance with Atlanta United, one has to do with adjudication that hopefully we can learn from later. The other is an individual decision from a young player that you hope he learns from down the line. Like I said, I know that we'll talk about it today. We talk about it today. We talk about it tomorrow, probably with whatever else is on your mind, all these other kinds of things. Alex, with the discussion with Drew, one thing that you really have to hand Atlanta United is that United claimed the Manchester United fandom vibes, warts and all, from day one. It's been, it is out there as a part of this discussion. Reminder, once again, Abby's got 3 tickets to the Twos tonight. So if anybody's interested, connect with Abby, and then Abby can get you her tickets to the Fraction tonight, 7:15 pregame, 7:33 kick. You'll hear that on the network on our Mixler channel at soccerdownhere.mixler.com. So let me say hi to everybody, because I didn't get the chance to do that because we went right into the show.
Before you do.
Yeah.
Atlanta United 2 tonight.
Yeah.
If you want to hear a little bit more about our little goalkeeper and Mr. John Burner, you can check out my feature that is up on our Instagram and Twitter. I'm going to repost it as well today, and it's a really cool story. So if y'all want to check it out, you should check it out before the match tonight.
Yep. Maddie's been very busy. She's been doing stuff at practice. She caught up with John Burner. She was at the match yesterday. She wrote the postmortem for that particular for the match yesterday. Yeah, Rich with Atlanta United 2 going for the sleep. Did not see a Big Dan Byrne doing the sign for Love the Fans on Saturday. I did not see that. Let's see. So, morning, Alex. Morning, Abby. Morning, Derek. I know that Abby's on a plane. Morning, Dell. Back from the Masters. Dell, boo. You got into the Masters. Good on you that you got in. I'm hoping that your wallet did not catch on fire, although I'm fairly certain it did because I'm sure that you went into the pro shop. So, yeah. So, morning, Dell. Morning, Pars. Let's see. Pars wanted to talk about the throw in. Derek has a fond memory of the high school match from on Friday night, from beating the Red Elephants at City Park 3-0. So let's see. Yeah, and so biggest thing, Pars. Yeah, I'm waiting for, and that was the thing. Is since it wasn't reviewable, then we're looking at that and going, okay, this needs to be added to the mix. So you need to add this. And I think that was what we wanted to kind of get into the discussion this morning, is that something happened. For some reason, it has been omitted from the rules of the game and the process of thinking through an action. So I think that it takes moments like these, I think, to get into the idea of, okay, yeah, we need to add this to phase of play and have this as part of the deal when it comes to all of these actions that we have here on a daily basis. Morning, Wiley. Wiley says he thought Noah Cobb might be watching some old LGP tape, and he is here for it. Nix, who is in this morning. Good that Nix is here, and glad that I know that work traditionally means that Nix doesn't get the chance to listen to us live and be a part of the discussion, but glad that Nix was in here this morning. David's in this morning. So good morning, David. Let's see. Who else am I missing here? Morning, Hutch. Yeah. Nix was like, yeah, these replacement refs suck. Oh, wait. So it's a part of that. Morning, four card. And this is the other element in all of this. Inconsistent refereeing. Four card goes, inconsistent refereeing is the worst. And then I think that's something else, and that's not really something unless you come up with grading systems and things like that. I don't know what Pro and PSRA do when it comes to grading and monitoring, but I think that if you were to look at these kinds of things and have review, that hopefully you could be grading out some of these individuals and figuring out, okay, where do they need to be improvement, and keeping the Angel Hernandezes and Country Joe Wests of Major League Soccer off the field and having folks that might be more consistent in their calls. But inconsistent reffing is the worst, and that was one of the things that concerned me about John Freeman with his hot start. 6 fouls, 2 yellows. That is unlike him, and I thought that he would be giving a course correction, and he did. But once again, to the point about the idea of giving a couple of quick yellows, I don't know. But this is the one thing, Hutch, and this is what we talk about with any club, really, that any club that knows how to balance out their fouls, it's like they know where the edge is, then somebody else picks up the slack. So it's like, all right, you wait for that moment, you foul and foul and foul, then you wait for the referee to do that, the no more, and then someone else picks up the slack and gets to that line, because you now know where the line is, and you can sit there and go, okay, I'm going to go to the line, next guy, go to the line, next guy, go to the line. And I think that short of doing those quicker yellows in those situations and making a statement, and once again, this goes back to our Bart discussion for the next time when Bart comes on, is regulating card distribution, making a statement early, and doing it within the rhythm of the game. I mean, there's nothing wrong with giving a yellow out of the blocks if it's egregious, instead of it just being part of the buildup of a match. And so those are the three big things, I guess, with Bart when it comes to cards, distribution, the patience level that's attached to it, making a statement, making sure that all the individuals know who is in charge, and that kind of a thing. So we've got these topics with Bart that we can get into the larger picture with IFAB and phase of play and all these kinds of things, and throw-ins. And like I said, I know that the U.S. Soccer Federation graphic has been floating around when it comes to what constitutes a correct throw and what constitutes a foul throw. So, so there's a lot of that. Morning, Michael Valverde. Michael was making his way down from Charlotte, made it down, and got to hang out with us. Got to hang out in general with everybody. Morning to Flying Arroz con Pollo. And I think that it's been a while, if not one of the first times, that Flying Chicken and Rice has been with us this morning. And I would debate the flyer where Almada has lost his spark. I don't think that has happened at all. Morning, OG. Morning, Bart. Bart could work in the Twitch pitch. He just couldn't come on live with us this morning. And getting into the discussion about John Freeman. Obviously, morning, Rich. Rich with the sword and the shield this morning from north of the Mason-Dixon line. And Rich, as always, I give you a boatload of credit. For coming in and being a part of our discussions on a daily basis. I'm trying to see if there's anybody else that jumped in. I think, an Orange and Black. It's always great to have them coming in from the left coast for breakfast. Oh, Alex. Yeah, I meant to get into this. The shades of the Ivan Toney repositioning the foam. It's not reviewable. Yeah. So for those of you that forget the Ivan Toney situation, Ivan Toney moves a ball against Nottingham Forest about a foot, and it was within the foam spray. But Ivan Toney moves the ball about a foot to his right, scores off of that free kick, and Nottingham Forest is mad, and they want to have discussions with the refereeing association and with the FA and with PGMOL and all of that. But once again, it's like looking if you're gonna move the ball, and no one's gonna look at you, then it's up to the officials, since it is not a reviewable element by VAR, to sit there and go, nope, move it back. PGMOL in the Ivan Toney case, they did not. Nottingham Forest can yell all they want. Nothing happens. So that was what was going on with Ivan Toney. If it's not in the rules, working within the rules that are there, if it's not in the rules, therefore you can do it. So that's what you're staring at there. 4-card doing his best, Bill Belichick. He's moving on to Cincinnati. And obviously, good morning to Michael Head. And let's see, I'm trying to see. I think that's everybody. But no, once again, thanks to everybody who's joined in this morning and gone through everything. Alex, what are you doing with your Newcastleian? This is the Dan Byrne moment from the weekend. So excellently done by. Okay. So Dan Byrne doing well and remembering all of his best buddies. Okay, so that's very, very cool. Oh, yes. Because of the what we discussed with the jersey and the technology that's attached, where those who are sight impaired and totally deaf got to experience the match through the sensations on the jerseys. Very, very cool. Very, very cool. And love of the fans. Very, very nice. Good work by Dan Byrne. Okay. What to watch, where to watch it, and any other news of the day really quickly. Let's go through the headlines before we get out of here on a Monday. Obviously, we'll be back at it again tomorrow. Maddie's chasing interviews, and so we'll see if we can catch up with folks tomorrow as well. Like I said, probably going to have a high school match of the week, and we'll be getting into the playoff structure and all of that coming up this week as well. The first week of the playoffs in the postseason here in Georgia. BN and BN in Espanol has Turkish Super League at 1:00. And you can watch that, all the BNs, CDO for the fans, Nuestra Tele, Gold TV, say on Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. And it helps out Fanatis, helps out the network here as well. And thanks to everybody who has gone complete and total degenerate and picked up their subscriptions to Fanatis. So BN and BN in Espanol simulcasting. 3:00 Chelsea and Everton. We got news on Chelsea in a second and the headlines. ESPN Deportes, 3:00, La Liga. Universo simulcasting the Premier League. The Plus simulcasting La Liga. Fox Soccer Plus has a Serie A Femenil with Roma and Juve at noon, and the CONCACAF Futsal Championships 4, 8, and 10. The U.S. is 1-1 through group stage. They have their third match today. Paramount Plus Copa de la Liga, 4 matches at 7:00, and 2 in Serie A, 12:30 and 2:45. So that's what to watch, where to watch it. Okay, headlines before we go. Michael's out. He's like, yep. All right, so news with Chelsea. Michael, cover your ears. Chelsea owners have sold hotels to another company they own for £75 million in an attempt to meet PSR rules. The sales of the hotels, according to Sam Wallace at The Telegraph, will see the club's annual losses ending June of last year drop to $90.1 million from £248.5 million. So Chelsea, the U.S. owners, so Bowley Clear Lake, sold the hotels on the Stamford Bridge site to another company they own, getting another £75.6 million of revenue. So they've apparently allegedly now knocked their losses down to 8 figures. And the club also announced that since Bowley Clear Lake acquired the club, they've spent £747.8 million on transfer fees. £747.8 million on transfer fees. And they're going to have to demonstrate to the Premier League that they are PSR compliant. It looks like Nottingham Forest is going to get their fate given to them after the match this weekend. So we'll see what happens there involving that. Leicester's going to avoid a points deduction on their end. And Mauricio Pochettino has said, I need to watch my mouth at Chelsea. Might be the whole he criticized his team's maturity after the 2-2 draw against Sheffield United a couple days ago. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to have to watch my mouth on this kind of stuff. So it's wild days. It's wild days at Chelsea. Let's see. Trying to see if there's anything else that I've missed. Everton's administration fears with 777 takeover placed in doubt. So keep an eye on that. We talked about 777, all their offshoots, all the states and the governments that are chasing after the subsidiaries, all their bottom lines, all that kind of stuff. It looks like Newcastle's eyeing cut price deals for Adarabioyo and Kelly going forward. No longer Leverkusen. Bayer Leverkusen absolutely ran the field into the ground in the Bundesliga. Champs. Well done by you. Let's see. Also going on, headlines. I think we've got that paper taken care of. I'm trying to see if there's anything else in the headlines that we might have missed along the way this morning. And let's see. League, nothing there. Jurgen Klopp calls for a reaction after the Palace defeat. And so we'll see how things are going to continue there with Liverpool as they go. Portsmouth's promotion to the championship on hold after they drew Bolton. Bruno Fernandes admitted that, yes, Manchester United's better than the 2-2 draw. They're better than that particular bunch. And I think that's it for the morning. One thing to remember, and this will be your required viewing for the day. It is the 35th anniversary of the Hillsborough disaster. And it was a day of remembrance for Liverpool at Anfield yesterday against Crystal Palace. I'm just going to say this. Never forget and always remember days like that as we go forward as a part of the sport. If you haven't seen it, I would recommend going to, and it's on YouTube. So it is, and I'll post the link here if I can find it really quickly. It is BBC's Panorama. It's their investigative program. And BBC's Panorama, it's like their version of 60 Minutes. And they did a fantastic episode of Panorama on Hillsborough. And it was fantastic. And so if you can find it, and I know it exists, Panorama did a full hour on what happened that day. So if you can find it, there are cut downs that are like 25 minutes, but there was a full hour that BBC Panorama did. And I would recommend, if you have the time, to watch that today and just have that as a part of your fan dossier, your fan memories and things like that. And so while at times we sit there and we think we've come a long distance in 35 years, there are some certain days where we're reminded we haven't. So if you can find your programming about Hillsborough and the Hillsborough disaster, I would recommend watching it today. Full disclosure, I have supported the family support group in the past. And so I've donated to the Hillsborough Family Support Group as a part of who I am. And so, like I said, if you got the time today, Tom's been to Hillsborough. He says it was eerie being there. Very different than it was then, no question. But still, I would imagine it's very, very eerie. So that's your homework for the day. That if you can find the BBC Panorama program on Hillsborough, watch it. It's a fantastic piece of journalism with what they were able to uncover when it came to what happened on that day 35 years ago. Once again, reminder, pregame show tonight on the network, 7:15 over on our Mixler channel, soccerdownhere.mixler.com. And it is Atlanta United 2, Philadelphia Union 2. And what you can do, you can go to the Fraction. That's recommended too. You can go to the Fraction and be a part of the crowd. Once again, Abby's got 3 tickets. If you want to go, haven't had the chance to get tickets yet, catch up with Abby. She's got 3 tickets, front row. So you can be in her seats for the matchup against Union 2. 7:15 pregame, 7:33 kick on the SDH network. And go on Mixler. Download Mixler as an app. Set the notifications and your follows for Soccer Down Here. And you'll have that tonight at 7:15, 7:33 kick. Jason, Maddie, Jarrett, Cast of Thousands. I will be at Slow Pour Brewing tonight, catching up with folks and fans. It's something that Scott Flood and the Flood Project have as a part of our dossier now, where we are doing networking events. So I will be at the networking event tonight at Slow Pour Brewing in Lawrenceville, and it will be it'll be a fun one where we get to catch up with folks, and we'll kind of see what's on your mind. And we will, we'll rock and roll. So it'll be fun to see everybody out at Slow Pour in Lawrenceville tonight. And we'll be at, that's presented by our friends at the Hat Trick Football Agency. Once again, networking night, Slow Pour Brewing, and we'll be there for it. And so it's as Scott Flood and the Flood Project have it laid out for us. It's creating opportunities for networking and innovation in Georgia soccer. So I'll be there tonight with the Scott Flood and the Flood Project, 7 to 8:30, and it also will set up the Reverb remote that we have on Friday night, getting ready for FC Cincinnati. So we'll be at Reverb. So it'll be a busy night on Friday because we'll have a soccer game on the network for high school. We'll have folks at Reverb at Hard Rock for getting ready for FC Cincinnati. And so tonight it's the twos at the Fraction and our friends at Hat Trick Football Agency with our Soccer Down Here. First networking night of the year. So very, very cool stuff across the board. Maddie, thoughts before we go? What else is on your mind?
Action at the Fraction tonight. Make sure y'all, if you can't come, listen on Mixler.
Yep.
If you can come to the match, come to the match at Fifth Third Stadium. Support the twos.
Yep.
It's going to be a fun one tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's it.
Okay. So very, very full night, fun night across the board. So once again, go to the Fraction. If you can go to the Fraction, don't have tickets, catch up with Abby. She's got 3, put you in the front row. 7:15 on Mixler, 7:33 kick. I'll be at Slow Pour for the networking night. And we've got high school all throughout the week. Tuesday, 9:05, so we're back in a little under 22 hours, and we'll get everything done. So since it is the end of the show, Maddie, go ahead and send us home. We will rock and roll and be back at it again tomorrow.
Make sure you guys come out to the Fraction tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. But that means it is the end of the show, which means John gets to do this.